Let's dig into the Context Manager's exercises and go through each of their solutions. If you haven't had a chance to try the exercises, the notebook is linked in the description. Alright, let's jump into problem 1. In this problem, we have a server log file and need to surface only the errors. To do that, we use a Context Manager to open the file and filter for error lines. We start by running the setup cell, which creates log.txt. This file has a mix of info and error lines. To read this file, we open log.txt in read mode using with open and give it the name log file. Inside the with block, we loop through the log file line by line. To filter out the error lines, we check if each one contains the string error. If it does, we print the line. Awesome, this is all the code we need. Since we're using a Context Manager, we don't need to manually close the file. Running the code, we can see just the error lines printed. Great, on to problem 2. In this problem, we have a file of Celsius temperatures that need to be converted to Fahrenheit and saved to a new file. To do that, we need to have both the Celsius and Fahrenheit files open at once. While we could do this by nesting with statements, the cleaner option is to open both on a single line. We start by running the setup cell, which creates the Celsius temperature file with 5 values. Back in our code, we'll open both files using a single with line. After the with keyword, we open the Celsius temperature file in read mode and give it the name in-file. Then, to open the second Fahrenheit file using the same Context Manager, we write a comma followed by a second open call. Since the Fahrenheit file doesn't exist yet, this open call will create the file when it's opened in write mode. Lastly, we give the Fahrenheit file connection the name outFile. Inside the with block, we loop through in-file line by line. For each line, we call line.strip to remove the new line character from the end. Then, since we can't convert a string to Fahrenheit, we cast the results to a float and store it as Celsius. To convert the Celsius variable to Fahrenheit, we apply the formula Celsius times 9/5 plus 32 and store the result as Fahrenheit. Lastly, we write Fahrenheit to outFile, but since write only accepts strings, we convert it to a string first and add a new line character to keep each value on its own line. Running the code, we see the Fahrenheit temperatures file is created. Inside this file, we see each of the temperatures converted to Fahrenheit. Opening 2 Context Managers on a single line lets us read and write simultaneously without nesting one with block inside another. Nesting can make your code messy and harder to read, so the single line form is the preferred approach when you need multiple files open at once. Awesome! The third problem takes things a step further. Instead of working with text files, we'll use a Context Manager to work with a database. Since this isn't a video on SQL, we've provided the commands you'll need. In this problem, we need to connect to a SQLite database called library.db, create a table for books, and insert 3 titles. We start by importing SQLite 3, which is part of Python's standard library. Then, we define our list of books as a list of tuples. Each tuple contains an ID and a title. To open the database connection, we call SQLite3.connect and pass in our database name, library.db, inside a with statement. We store the database connection in a variable con. Inside the with block, we call con.cursor to get a cursor object. This is what we use to send SQL commands to the database. First, we use cursor.execute to create the books table. Create table, if not exists, books, followed by the 2 columns, ID integer and title text. The if not exists part means the code won't throw an error if the table already exists, so we can safely rerun the cell. After creating the table, we loop through our list of books and insert each one using another cursor.execute call. The SQL to insert each book is insert into books value ? The two question mark placeholders get filled in with the values from the current tuple. For example, during the first iteration of the loop, the book tuple will contain 1 and the pragmatic programmer. The first question mark will be the ID, 1, and the second will be the book title, the pragmatic programmer. Great! That's all the code we need to create the books database and add the titles using a context manager. When used with databases, context managers automatically commit the transactions, like creating tables and adding entries, as well as close the connection when the with blocks exit. Running the code, we see the library.db file is created, with all 3 titles inserted. We're using the VS Code's SQLite viewer extension to see the contents of our database file. If you want to get the extension for yourself, we've left a link in the description. Great! Those are the solutions to our 3 exercises. If you're looking for more information on file handling, check out our video on rstrings linked in the description. We're working on lots more Python explainer videos like this one, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like to learn about, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching!